Let me tell you about the house I grew up in. It was a beautiful old Victorian, the kind with wraparound porches and those little stained glass windows you see in movies. My parents bought it for a steal, which, in hindsight, should have been our first red flag. The previous owner, a sweet old lady named Mrs. Gable, just wanted to move closer to her grandkids. She was lovely, but she had one peculiar rule: never, ever use the basement. She said it was damp, full of spiders, and just generally unpleasant. She'd even had a heavy-duty deadbolt installed on the outside of the door, and she gave my dad the only key with a very serious look. For years, we respected her wishes. The basement door was just part of the hallway wall, a painted-over curiosity that we all ignored. It was located in the back of the house, leading off a narrow hall near the kitchen. My dad locked it the day we moved in, and that was that. Life was normal. We had birthday parties, movie nights, all the typical family stuff. The house creaked and groaned, but all old houses do, right? We'd hear thumps from the attic, which turned out to be squirrels. We'd hear pipes clanking in the walls. Nothing out of the ordinary. The first weird thing happened when I was about 13. My friends, Sarah and Mark, were over for a sleepover. We were telling ghost stories in the living room, trying to scare each other silly. That's when we heard it. A single, heavy thump. It wasn't like the squirrel scampering sounds from the attic. This was different. It sounded like it came from below us, from the basement. Mark, always the brave one, joked, "Maybe it's Mrs. Gable's ghost." Mad we're up past her bedtime. We all laughed, but a little nervously. We tried to ignore it, but then it happened again. Thump, silence, then a faint scratching sound. It sounded like fingernails dragging slowly across wood. We all froze. I remember the look on Sarah's face, pale in the glow of the TV. I tried to play it cool. "It's just the house settling," I said, my voice a little shakier than I wanted. But the scratching continued, a rhythmic, deliberate scrape, scrape, scrape. It went on for maybe a minute, and then it just stopped. We didn't sleep much that night. When I told my parents the next morning, my dad went to check the basement door. The deadbolt was still firmly locked. He shrugged it off as an old house making old house noises. Maybe a raccoon got stuck in the crawl space under the floor. But I knew what I heard. It wasn't a raccoon. Life went on, and the incident became a spooky story we'd tell at parties. But I never forgot it. The basement door started to feel less like a forgotten closet and more like a presence in the house. Sometimes, walking past it, I'd get this intense cold spot, the kind that makes the hair on your arms stand up. A couple of times, I could have sworn I smelled something strange coming from under the door, a mix of damp earth, mildew, and something else. Something metallic and sweet, like old pennies. I'd mention it to my mum, and she'd just say it was the old foundation and spray some air freshener. The real terror started about a year later. It was a Tuesday evening. I was home alone, finishing up my homework at the kitchen table. My parents were at a parent-teacher conference, and my older sister was at a friend's house. The house was quiet, except for the hum of the refrigerator. That's when I heard a new sound. It wasn't a thump or a scratch. It was a click. A loud, metallic click. The sound a heavy lock makes when it's turned. I froze, my pen hovering over my math book. My heart started hammering against my ribs. The sound had come from the back hallway, from the basement door. I told myself I was imagining it. It was the house. It was the pipes. It was anything but what I thought it was. I tried to focus on my homework, but my ears were straining, listening for any other sound. And then it came. A long, low creak. The sound of a heavy door, unused for years, slowly swinging open on rusty hinges. I couldn't breathe. My mind was racing. Someone was in the house. But how? All the doors were locked. I grabbed the heaviest thing I could find, a cast iron skillet from the stove, and crept towards the hallway. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold it. I peered around the corner. The hallway was dark, but there was enough light from the kitchen to see. The basement door, the one that had been deadbolted shut for over a decade, was standing wide open. A wave of cold, musty air washed over me. It carried that same smell I'd noticed before, but stronger now. Damp earth, decay, and that coppery, sweet scent. I stood there, paralyzed with fear, staring into the black square of the open doorway. It was a void, a patch of absolute darkness that seemed to swallow the light. I couldn't see any stairs, just a sheer drop into nothing. And from that darkness, I heard something. A soft, wet shuffling sound. It was the sound of something moving down there, something heavy and slow. I didn't scream. I was too scared to make a sound. I just backed away, slowly, one step at a time. My eyes locked on that black opening. I didn't take my eyes off it until I was at the front door, fumbling with the lock, and then I ran. I ran out of the house and didn't stop until I was halfway down the block, standing under a streetlight, gasping for air. I called my parents, hysterical, barely able to form words. When they got home, they found me huddled on the neighbor's porch. My dad, a logical, no-nonsense kind of man, grabbed a flashlight and went inside. My mom and I waited on the porch, terrified. A few minutes later, he came back out, his face pale and grim. He said the basement door was shut, and the deadbolt was locked. He said I must have imagined it, that the stress of being home alone had played tricks on my mind. But I saw the look in his eyes. He was scared too. He couldn't explain how the heavy deadbolt, which required a key from the outside, could have possibly relocked itself. We never spoke about it again, not really. It was the unspoken fear that now lived with us in that house. My dad added a second lock to the basement door, a heavy slide bolt at the bottom. We all started avoiding the back hallway, taking the long way around through the living room to get to the kitchen. The sounds didn't stop. Sometimes we'd hear that slow, shuffling sound. Other times, it was a faint tapping, like someone patiently knocking from the other side. One night, my sister swore she heard a voice, a low whisper, coming from under the door, but she could never make out the words. We finally moved out 2 years later. My dad got a job transfer, and I've never seen my parents so relieved to pack up a house. On our last day, as the moving truck was pulling away, I took one last look at the old Victorian. I looked at the window of my old bedroom, at the porch where we had so many good memories, and then my eyes drifted to the back of the house, to the hallway with the basement door. As I watched, I saw one of the kitchen curtains move, just slightly, as if someone had pulled it aside to look out. But I knew the house was empty. We were the last ones to leave. I still have nightmares about that house, about the smell, about the sounds, and most of all, about that open doorway. I don't know what was in that basement. I don't know what opened that locked door from the inside, and frankly, I don't want to. Some doors are meant to stay closed, and some mysteries are better left unsolved. Thanks for listening to my story. If you have a spooky house story of your own, share it in the comments below. I'd love to read them. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more strange tales. Stay safe out there.